Okay, Putin, we're going to show people the new Spooky. Basically, Spooky2 has been revised and upgraded every month. So it behooves you to take a look at all the new software updates. I know sometimes, and once in a while, they might have a slight little bug, but they get resolved right away. There's this development on this software is amazing, okay? But always check back to the website spooky2.com because you want to make sure that you're having the latest software, and then sometimes even when they come out with the latest software on the first of the month, they might revise it on the second or third or fourth of the month, and make sure you have the latest stuff, the latest manuals. They revise all the new manuals. But I want to actually point out something here because, for instance, when you open this up, it goes into this. It looks like this. It looks completely different. The software looks completely different on Spooky2, and I'm talking about the Spooky2 Rife machine. You want to go, if you want to look at where it was before, what you want to do is you want to go to expert mode, and then also for the databases, you will select your databases, and it will bring you over to where they're at, and you'll select them, and it'll put in whatever the databases you want, okay, that are in the Spooky2 folder on your hard drive, okay? Now, there's a couple things I didn't realize at first because what you want to do, John White actually put in a lot of different new settings. He has the healing frequencies now, for instance, for healing. Say this is healing, and say we're doing a general cleanse. What you want to do is you want to check off this box here, overwrite channel settings, okay? And then you double click, like I looked up general cleanser, and say we're using this on a healing mode. You'll notice it's going to be going into just a plain square wave, and you're going to be using this with a boost cable, one remote. I have two remotes here, but it's going to be one remote and a boost cable. Now I'm actually making this YouTube update for people who are pretty much familiar with this stuff. If you're just seeing this from the beginning, you probably have to look at the manuals or have to look back at the other Spooky2 videos. But I'm just telling people about some of the changes. So for instance, but I want to also point out a couple other things. Maybe that's not being said too much, but like say for instance, we started. Now you would run these in order, but I just want to put it 728 as a starting point. But you would run these in order, but just for other purposes, I want to show you something. Say you would start on 728. You would notice the generator is putting out 728. It's going through the boost cable. It's on one remote device. It's running a square wave. And since it's running inverse sync, the other wave is the opposite pattern, and the boost cable reverses that opposite pattern, so they're both the same square wave. Now I want to show you something else where this is actually radically changed. He has for killing microbes, JW killing, right? John White killing. You click on, again, overwrite channel settings. Now I'm going to show you, this is where it's interesting. This actually becomes an inverted sawtooth pattern, okay? That's what's going on. So it's got a lot more harmonics with it, and the settings are automatically, just click this on JW killing. Now when you run this, you also want to run either detox right after this, or you want to run, what the hell is it, detox on another generator at the same time. And there's settings in here for detox. But what my point on this is I want to show you with the waveform, actually the main frequency that's actually being generated. There's being a lot more harmonics that are being generated. There's odd and even harmonics being generated all the way up. So let's double click on general cleanse again. I'm not going to start at the beginning just for informational purposes. Not that this is the way to do it. You would start and run these in order, but just for informational purposes, I'm going to use 728. 728 is like a pretty common Rife frequency. I'm going to start there, okay? That's just for informational purposes. Because normally you would run these in a sequence. There's a definite reason for the sequence. Sometimes if you try to run it outside the sequence, what can happen is it may not work. Although, you know, I can't say this works for sure because it's not endorsed by the medical establishment or anything. But let's just put this on. I'm going to show you what the difference is. You see now you're running inverted sawtooth pattern. It's going to... Now, what's interesting about it, if you notice, you see the one remote is working because we got both outputs going through the boost cable. But you notice the frequency is 46,592. That is actually the 64th harmonic of 728. And it's producing, in other words, it's not the only wave it's producing, but that's the main one the generator is seeing. So the generator shows which one is... now this is a Spooky2 generator. I don't know why I have black tape on here, but some reason I forgot what it was. But it actually has a symbol with a ghost on here. It's Spooky2, just as we see over here. You know, this little guy, right? Hi, I'm Spooky. But the thing is, the 64th harmonic is the main wave that's actually showing up. Now, I don't want to drop any names here, but there's other famous Rife researchers out there. They don't actually use the 728 or 880 or 465 that's on a consolidated frequency list. A lot of times they use the 32nd or 64th or 128th harmonic of those waves, and they run a different duty cycle, like a 71.5% or 78% or even 80 something percent, because it generates more with a square wave, because it generates more harmonics. But what John White is doing is he's using a inverted sawtooth wave, and I find it highly interesting that actually the generator, when you're seeing this killing frequency, it's actually agreeing with other Rife researchers who are actually using this frequency, 46,592, and using a square wave with a different duty cycle other than 50% to produce the desired effect. Now, what's interesting about this Spooky2, though, is that you're going through a Mobius coil. It's using quantum entanglement. The frequencies are going directly to all the DNA in your body. So if you're using this, the killing settings, what killing is for killing microbes, you want to actually, say for instance this was done, what you'd want to do is you want to go over to, let's say, detox. Or you can run this at the same time. You can do it at the same time. So detox. Let's just say limps and detox. And healing, overwrite. Now actually I have to select healing and overwrite channel settings first. Then click on, I thought that's what it was. It's something brand new. And you'll see, well, let me stop this first, excuse me. See that? I screwed that up, sorry. In other words, you have to stop it first. You go to healing, overwrite settings, limp and detox, then you can click it on. And you want to do that while the killing settings are running against the microbes you were attempting to address, or immediately thereafter. And you'll notice in this case, the healing and detox is using a just a plain square wave. So now I'm not sure about, in the case of quantum entanglement, that it matters if you use positive offset or not. I personally do. If I use positive offset, I'll use 100% here and minus 100% on the other one. And let's say person 111, and well, it depends. If I'm using separate remotes, what would happen is I would actually So if I was using a boost cable, I would do it this way. I don't actually want to add this in here at the end too much because it gets confusing. But, you know, I actually run a positive offset. If I'm using a boost cable, I'll have to use inverse sync and reverse the offset. But sometimes I just don't use the boost cable. I use two separate remotes, and I'll be running two different things on them. I don't want to get into that, but I just wanted to point out in this video that John White has set up his own programmed killing settings and pre-programmed healing settings, and you have to select that and then overwrite channel settings first before you run the actual program. So for instance, if you're running cancer, all tumors, what would happen is, like I said, it usually runs a 32nd harmonic, a 64th harmonic, or a 128th harmonic is what the generator is mainly seeing as the wave. And I found that highly interesting because I don't want to mention the names out here, but there's other very famous Rife researchers that they will not use the exact consolidated frequency list hertz setting. They will use either the 32nd harmonic, the 64th harmonic, or the 128th harmonic, and they don't use the 50% duty cycle. They'll use like 71.5. Sometimes they use 50%, but usually they don't. They'll use 78%. They'll use 88%, depending on what kind of harmonics they're trying to generate. But John White, when he's using this inverted sawtooth wave, it's automatically making the generator see the main harmonic that the other Rife researchers are using with a plain square wave. And I found that highly, highly interesting because I think this guy's really onto something here, even though I don't know everything he does. I don't understand everything John White does. I can follow the directions, and you should too, because what I'm explaining here very briefly is not encompassing all the directions that are in Spooky2. And again, I want to say that I'm an end user. I'm not a Spooky2 representative. I'm not a Spooky2 salesman. I have Spooky2. I got a few generators. I think this is the damn greatest thing going. I think it's the most effective and also the most inexpensive Rife machine going. And I know people say it's not a Rife machine, but the more I'm thinking about this technology is probably exceeding Royal Rife already. Because, I don't know, Royal Rife didn't use quantum entanglement. And Einstein proved that theory is correct. And I'm thinking this, what he's actually got onto here with this inverted sawtooth wave is probably going to be, well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to make any freaking promises or get people hopeful that it's going to do all this stuff. I mean, they got all these cancer things in here. Actually, what we really need with this thing is real medical professionals, because say, for instance, this did have a very high effective rate on, say, cancer or something. How the heck do you know what type of cancer you have unless you talk to a real doctor? And how do you know? You might be able to determine if it's a miracle, like it really changes, but how do you know you're getting better unless you use a real doctor? I swear, I wish real doctors would be allowed to use this stuff, or try to use it, or, experiment with it. But I'm experimenting with it. I think it's pretty cool. But I just want to point out that the way to use this now is you gotta select either the healing or the killing or your own personal settings first. Then click on overwrite channel settings. Then click on what you're trying to address. In this case, say it was cancer tumors, and you're addressing that. And you see, this is another smart thing. The 727.5, the actual, let's see, let's start it right there. That's going to produce a different harmonic. Watch, we'll see what it produces. Let's see, 727.5, 46. Oh, what is it? Maybe it started. It did start at 727. Let's just go to the next one. 727.5. $727. Well, 727 to 60. It probably started at 727. 727, the 64th harmonic is 46,528. 46,560. I'm not exactly sure how to calculate, or I'm not sure exactly how this is calculating. Not exactly sure how this is calculating. Let's see, 727.5. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I got the rounding on here. Just I need to increase the decimal. 727.5, 64th harmonic, 46,560. 46,560. So that's exactly what it's doing. That's exactly what it's doing. Okay? That's exactly what it's doing. So I'm kind of just running this, I'm not rehearsing this or anything. I'm just kind of running it through here raw. I'm just giving you information. This program is being improved every single month. The downloads are free. The generators are inexpensive. They're very accurate. They produce all kinds of waveforms, but it's actually this program that you run on your computer that is making this such a powerful machine. So, and I just wanted to point out, because when I did another video on how they arrived at some of these consolidated frequency list settings, 727.5 was actually more accurate than 727 or 728 from the original Rife frequency, because John Crane was using pad type frequency generators that he was using with a 4-point contact system to generate electricity through the body, and he was using a divisor, a random divisor, to come up with these other numbers. He was using other than the original Rife frequencies, and actually the common divisor would have actually been the original Rife. When it was divided by the common divisor, the original Rife frequency was divided by the common divisor, it would have actually been closer to 727.5. So a lot of times you'll see 727, 728. So here, when they're running this cancer old tumors, they're hitting 727, 727.5, and 728. But it's working on an inverted sawtooth wave. So it's hitting a lot of different harmonics. And considering that this is going through all DNA, I don't know, man. I hate to get anybody's hopes up on this stuff, because the real drawback now is, somebody's using this. There's so many different types of cancer out there. Now let's make the assumption this actually is good. It's going to do the job. It's going to work in most situations. Let's just make that assumption. How do you know what type of cancer you have? How do you know? I mean, you need a medical professional, man. So I swear, I wish because I'm not against doctors. It's just that the doctors' hands are tied a lot of times with the big money pharmaceutical, and I wish they would be allowed to experiment with some of this stuff. But actually, when I was running this, just for your information, this 2008, when we calculated the common denominator that the original Rife frequency was derived at to come up in 2008, actually was closer to 2007.5. So, you could probably modify that even, but this hits so many harmonics, it should work anyway. But when you're running the killing frequency against, say, microbes, what you want to be doing is running the detox in right after it or at the same time, because you will be knocking out pathogens and overload your body with garbage from dead pathogens, and you want to be able to detoxify all that stuff. Now again, I just want to point this out here, that this is like, although I think it's hard science to the max, I got to tell you, make a disclaimer that it's theory. I swear, I am not against doctors. I just wish they'd be allowed to use this in conjunction with their conventional treatments as part of their medical practice, because they got the know-how to know exactly what type of cancer you have, and they have the know-how to determine if, with their x-rays and other ways of examining a patient, to determine if you're getting better. The professionals are needed. The professionals are needed. I just wish they'd be allowed to embrace this method, even if it's just considered experimental. I think it's going to be very, very highly effective, and it's been improved every month. I know I made this video a lot longer than I thought I was, because I'm commenting on other things about the problems involved with this, because it's you can't say that it heals or works. You can't say that, really. Even as a layman, even though I'm not a medical practitioner, I can't go around saying this is a cure. But I think it is. I think it's going to be very effective in a lot of cases, especially now. There's been a major improvement. So every month you want to check back at this software. This stuff has been going ahead in strides that are light years, and I don't know. I'm totally flabbergasted by the great work John White's doing. So, anyway, take a look at it. And again, if you're running the killing frequencies, you want to run detox first. You want to select, if you're attempting cancer, you want to do killing, then overwrite channel settings, select the type of cancer you think it is or what your doctor told you it was. Do that, and then go ahead and run that. And then when you run that, either run the detox at the same time or immediately thereafter. How long do you run this for? It would be best if you had, I'm not trying to sell generators, but it'd be best if you had 2 generators, one you can run a detox on and one the cancer on, and let it run for some days. But follow the manual, follow how you hook up these boost cables, follow. The manuals have been completely revised. And again, when I put this out, I found it highly interesting that the overall wave that the generator is coming up with what other respected Rife researchers have been using right from the get-go. They might run 46,560 right from the get-go as a square wave, would say it's 71.5% duty cycle or 78% duty cycle. John White is actually coming up with this in a different way, but it's like they're agreeing with each other. He's using inverted sawtooth wave. So it's making me be a lot more confident that this is some really super powerful stuff that's going to work, and we will find out. But like I said, as time goes by, things are being developed and are improved all the time. So keep looking at the Spooky2 website and download the latest software, to download the latest manuals, and read them thoroughly. But again, I just want to address that, to run this, when it opens up, it looks like this: beginner mode. You got to select expert mode. You got to go select your database. It goes over to that. You select the database, and then before you run anything, you got different choices. You can choose your settings. You can use John White's killing settings for addressing harmful microbes, healing settings. Like healing settings you'd be using with the detox, you would select that first. You say overwrite channel settings, and then you would select your detox. I'm repeating this, but just so people understand. Mr. Putin the cat. But anyway, detox. Right, buddy? Can't hit the buttons here, man. Detox. It's a little bit dark. Detox. And you could even run essential oils, might be bad, but limps and detox, and then run them with the boost cable properly set up. And you want to run those at the same time or immediately after using the killing settings. Just want to repeat that because that's very important too. Because if you don't detox, you'll have all these toxins from destroyed microbes in your body, and your body could be overloaded by that. So, you know, you want to probably do this in steps, or if you have two generators, one run detox and the other one as limps, with the killing frequency. So, anyway, vast improvements, and I found this highly interesting with how the generator's automatically producing the main wave as a 32nd, 64th, or 128th harmonic of the consolidated frequency list base wave. You know, and it's not the only thing it's producing loads of harmonics, but that's the main one that the generator is actually seeing.